system in which if municipal corporation plays the role of sortation and collection, there can be a PPP model in which multiple recyclers can be integrated, right from organic waste all the way to paper, which already right now happens in informal sector. Why can't urban local bodies take that ownership? Anyways, they have to tender it, they have access to land after bioremediation. Why can't these processes be built into our urban cities that have the resources, have the quantum, and have the muscle to implement it? So here are 5 areas. This is one open request to all of you also if you are looking at expanding into newer cities. This is one of the opportunity that ISC and Godrej have put together to engage other partners as well. And in the due course of this presentation, the next quick 5 slides, I'll be sharing the opportunities in which to co-invest into the project and build the project with us. So first is an automated material recovery facility. BCP right now is building 300-400 metric ton per day facilities. We have the capabilities and the engineering capabilities to build such facilities and cooperate them. And here is one of the solutions that existing concession of municipal corporations, where they are currently in the absence of source segregation. There has to be a solution today. No? Source segregation and other activities will happen over a period of time. But right now, what are we going to do with the 620 tons of waste that's been dumped in the landfill? Can the municipal corporation deploy mechanical sortation solutions where the urban local body has the money? They are requiring technical expertise. Can they invest into building technical expertise with the best machine manufacturers and implementers globally and provide them a technical report so that they can implement a tender and get the best quality solutions here. The second area is you have to understand that municipal solid waste management existing guidelines requires waste management to be done decentralized. Now you have to understand in urban India where land is so expensive for government to deploy land for new facilities can be challenging. What if we already have so many aggregators and scrap dealers already functioning? They are for now currently tax-paying entities and SMEs as well. Why can't the administration accept them and bring them on board and invest into formalizing them so that they can also participate in the decentralized process of waste facilities and all? So can we build this transition from scrap dealers to authorized material recovery facilities that are operating under the larger ambit of urban local bodies and helping them solve the problem in the first place? It's very small money for the urban local body to invest in them and to create this kind of value proposition. The third value proposition is to invest into vehicles. One of the biggest challenges is collection in India. Even if a lot of entities are investing into behavioral change, one of the biggest struggles in big cities is waste collection in the first place. If waste is not collected, then what will happen to the waste? Then people will dump it in places that are where nobody's eyes is catching. And whatever investment that you make in IEC also goes to waste. So here is one of the important areas is that if certain donors here are looking at investing into infrastructure assets for urban local bodies, collection vehicles can be a very small collection vehicles can be a very great investment here to kind of showcase, to invest into slum areas and areas that are not currently accessible. And lastly is the behavioral change aspect of it. If you have an end-of-life solution available, investing into behavioral change is because there is a return of investment. You are aiding the urban local body for long-term sustainability. That is the first point, and especially in big cities, in the absence of a decentralized or a centralized processing engagement, is going to be very, very difficult. And the last, the foremost part is accountability. If you're investing into companies as implementation partners like us, it is very important for us to give you return on value. For every, we have to give you a traceability of the material. That is, the KPI should be how much of material has been processed into circularity. How many waste workers have been given better training so they can achieve the better outcomes? How much revenue or how much of sustainability have you brought into the cash flows of these facilities? Are you able to integrate forward partners to work with these kind of entities to create consistent revenue for running of operations of plants? These are bigger questions that need to be answered in terms of what it is being today. So from an impact perspective, from a single project, we will achieve 620 metric tons. That DPR, that the baseline state that you are currently investing into, will give us a quick plan in terms of where can we intervene to show very small scale, quick solution, but also how can multiple parameters and the government also, how can we align the expectations of the government and build a better value proposition? We will also focus on 2,500 waste workers and will unlock the government into 2 revenue streams for the urban local body at the pilot form or its here is a sample of the areas in which brand owners can engage. From an environment protection standpoint, you can engage with us in terms of building systems, behavioral change, other aspects. So focus on informal sectors, specifically on waste workers, informal waste workers, and bringing them into the supply chain and creating value proposition for them to become entrepreneurs. Creating economic resilience by investing into informal actors right now, that is scrap dealers, and transforming them into more formal actors. And lastly, infrastructure, helping the government operate the best case infrastructure, because it's our job to build the Indian people, and then it's their job to develop the people. So here is.
For highlighting how companies can participate in the process. Now I request Mr. Ajay Sinha, CEO of Feedback Foundation, to present on the approach initiative for the research, the step-by-step collection process.
Thank you so much. मेरा नाम अजय सिन्हा और चेंज जल्दी में बोलना चाहूँगा के वर्कशॉप्स में बहुत कम बोलने का मौका मिला है। महाराष्ट्र से जितना कुछ सीखा है हम लोगों ने, अगर आप लोगों ने देखा होगा राजगांव से बचा ये सब ऐसा गांव है जो पूरे देश को दिशा दिखाया। 94 to 98 IAS ऑफिसर्स का ट्रेन करता था हम राजगांव सिटी में। इस बार महाराष्ट्र में कुछ ऐसा किया जाए दो शहर में, पुणे और औरंगाबाद, जो पूरा कचरा प्रबंधन का दिशा और दशा था। पिछले 6-7 साल से गवर्नमेंट कंज्यूमर्स, गवर्नमेंट प्रॉपर्टीज, LIC हाउसिंग और अदर पार्टनर से लगभग 45 शहरों में, नायरा के प्रतिनिधि यहाँ बैठे हैं, लगभग 45 शहरों में पूरा कचरा प्रबंधन को समझने का प्रयास हम लोग कर रहे हैं। एक चीज तो समझ में आया है कि अभी तक का जो पता है पूरा उठा करके जो फेंकने का, आज मैं आकलन कर रहा था कि जितने भी टीपीसी लेते हैं एजेंसी कलेक्शन कॉर्पोरेशन प्रोसेसिंग ट्रीटमेंट का, लगभग 2500 रुपया पर टन, यानी 2.5 रुपया पर केजी। लीगेसी वेस्ट लगभग 2 रुपया पर केजी, 4.5 रुपया पर केजी जो है हम और केजी वेस्ट ऐड कर रहे हैं पूरा को फेंकने के लिए। तो ऐसा कौन सा एक दिशा हम बदले कि जो एग्जिस्टिंग सॉलिड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट प्रैक्टिसेस हैं इस प्रोसेस को रिवर्स करें। उदाहरण के तौर पर अभी पूरा सिस्टम सेंट्रलाइज सिस्टम है। अगर पुणे में भी जाएंगे, औरंगाबाद में भी जाएंगे, सब जगह लैंडफिल साइट है और 400-500 टन पूरा लैंडफिल साइट में फेंका जा रहा है। तो 5-6 साल से ये कर रहे हैं कि इस पूरे प्रोसेस को रिवर्स किया जाएगा कि पूरा जहां पैदा हो रहा है वहीं पर खत्म करो। क्या क्लस्टर अप्रोच में जा सकते हैं, क्या डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड मॉडल में जा सकते हैं, ताकि वो जीरो वेस्ट, तो क्या शहर को जीरो वेस्ट किया जा सकता है। और दूसरा जो सबसे बड़ा परिवर्तन है जीरो कॉस्ट। अभी बता रहे थे इकोनॉमी स्केल की बात कर रहे थे सूरज जी, इसमें भी दिशा बदलने की जरूरत है। अभी एक कॉर्पोरेशन जो है लगभग 2500 रुपया पर टन पूरा के कलेक्शन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन प्रोसेसिंग ट्रीटमेंट। ध्यान दें, जब मैं कहता हूँ तो लोग मुझ पर हंसते हैं। 2017 से हंस रहे थे मेरे ऊपर, ये किसी वाली बात करते हैं, सब वही का एक म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन जो है 1 टन पूरा को कलेक्शन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन प्रोसेसिंग ट्रीटमेंट के लिए लगभग 25 रुपया पर टन खर्च करती है। जब मैं 2017 में जब मैंने कहा था कि जो आपका 2500 या 2000 पर टन है, ये क्या जीरो कर सकते हैं, इसको व्हाट वी कॉल जीरो वेस्ट। यानी पूरा जो सर्को इकोनॉमी, जो कलेक्शन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन प्रोसेसिंग ट्रीटमेंट का जो कॉस्ट है, वो क्या वेस्ट स्ट्रीम के माध्यम से रिकवर हो सकता है थ्रू यूजर चार्ज, सेल ऑफ रिसाइक्लेबल्स, सेल ऑफ कंपोस्ट, सेल ऑफ RDF, सेल ऑफ वैल्यू एडेड प्रोडक्ट्स, जो हमारे वेस्ट स्ट्रीम से हो सकता है। तो जब 2017 में जब एक वर्कशॉप में मैंने बताया था, तो मैंने कहा था कि बोलने में तो बहुत ही आसान है, करके दिखाओ, तब तो समझिए। भारत का पहला एक ऐसा वार्ड जो नरकावाला देहरादून म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन में है, पहला वार्ड भारत। यहाँ तो 4 घंटे की जर्नी है, कभी आप जाएंगे। 17,000 की आबादी है, यानी एक वार्ड 17,000, यानी एक नगर पंचायत से भी बड़ी है। इट्स ऑलमोस्ट लाइक अर्बन लोकल बॉडी। वो 2.5 साल पहले जीरो वेस्ट भी हुआ, जीरो कॉस्ट भी हुआ, और सिटीजन्स ने अर्बन लोकल बॉडीज को 33 लाख का क्रॉस सब्सिडाइज किया। यानी अगर ये प्रोजेक्ट नहीं होता तो 33 लाख अर्बन लोकल बॉडीज को खर्च करना पड़ता। इसका इम्पैक्ट क्या होगा? मैं चाहता हूँ यहाँ पर कॉर्पोरेट्स जो है आपका रोल चाहिए। पैसे की ज्यादा समस्या नहीं है देश में, हर एक अर्बन लोकल बॉडीज के पास पैसा है, लेकिन दिशा दिखाने वाला नहीं है। अभी नागपुर में मैं गया, नागपुर में उनके पास पैसे थे, देशा पीपला में काम कर रहे हैं, वाडी पंजाब मिल काउंसिल में काम कर रहे हैं, बोले पैसे तो है, क्या क्या कर रहे हैं उससे? जेसीबी खरीदा जा रहा है, 10 बिल बांटा जा रहा है, क्यों बांट रहे हो? फाइनेंशियल व्यक्तियों से बुराई खर्च कर रहे हैं, कौन बड़ी साथ कैसे आप जीरो वेस्ट कर सकते हैं? तो फाइनली ये स्टार्टेड देशा पीपला बॉडी स्टार्ट किया। तो एज कॉर्पोरेट आपसे जो सहयोग चाहिए, टेक्निकल नो हाउ ट्रांसफर, ट्रेनिंग एंड कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग, मैसिव ओरिएंटेशन ऑफ द फोकस आर्टिस्ट, बिल्डिंग क्रिएटिंग चैंपियंस। कमिश्नर आज इंदौर के, हम इंदौर के पास ऐसे काम कर रहे हैं, तो पूछता है इंदौर नंबर 1 सिटी 6 बार से हुआ है, कैसे हुआ है? हमने नहीं किया है, सिस्टम्स नहीं किया है, तो बाकी बात वो वहाँ का जो कमिश्नर मनीष सिंह और आशीष सिंह, जिला पंचायत का चेयरमैन, उन लोगों ने किया, वो दिन रात लगा है। यानी एक पाजर 100 पाजर तैयार करता है। हमारा आपसे सहयोग क्या चाहिए? सहयोग चाहिए कि ऐसे पाजर तैयार किए जाए। पाजर मतलब वो पाजर खाना वाला पाजर नहीं, कमिश्नर्स, पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स, मेयर्स, म्युनिसिपल काउंसिल के काउंसिलर्स, इनको जितना हम ओरिएंटेशन ट्रेनिंग कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग करें, एक्सपोजर बिल्ड करें, ये जितने चैंपियंस के रूप में निकलेंगे उतना काम आपके सामने होगा। हम जब स्टार्ट करते हैं, शहर में जाते हैं, हम नहीं बोलते कॉर्पोरेट आपके पास आ जाना, हम अपने बूथ पर अपने शर्त पर काम करते हैं। आपको डिसेंट्रलाइज करना है तो बोलो, जीरो वेस्ट करना है तो बोलो, जीरो वेस्ट करना है तो बोलो, आपके पास जमीन है, जमीन दिखाओ, जमीन के लिए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की आपके पास पैसे हैं वो बताओ। ये पूरे कंडीशन पूरा करते कॉर्पोरेट की क्या है। तो ये जो आपका सेटिंग बहुत आगे बढ़े। तो मैंने जैसे बताया कि 2 उद्देश्य पर काम करते हैं कि शहर को जीरो वेस्ट करो और जीरो कॉस्ट करो, यानी 2 साल, एक शहर 3 साल के अंदर जीरो कॉस्ट हो सकता है। बॉर्डर पकौड़ी लिमिटेड के पालन पानी में काम कर रहे हैं, 60% कॉस्ट रिकवरी होगा। मालनपुर में 40% कॉस्ट रिकवरी होगा, 1.5 साल का प्रोजेक्ट। ग्वाटेश का एक इक्विवेलेंट बुद्धि में है, 80% कॉस्ट रिकवरी होगा, अभी 2 साल हुआ है। यानी 3 साल में एक शहर जो है जीरो कॉस्ट स्टेटस अटेन कर लेता है। जब भी काम करें हम गवर्नमेंट के प्रोग्राम से लाइन करें, स्टैंड अलोन जीरो, गवर्नमेंट हैज टू ओन द एंटायर थिंग, उनको लैंड प्रोवाइड करना है, उनको पैसे देने, उनको मैन पावर, फंड फंक्शन एंड फंक्शनरीज के साथ कन्वर्जेंस करने होंगे। जब तक वो नहीं करते हैं कॉर्पोरेट सपोर्ट विल गो इन वेन। मैंने देखा है बहुत कॉर्पोरेट, हमारे पास पैसे हैं, आप खर्च करो ना, दैट विल गो इन वेन। तो 7 एज अप्रोच, वी शेयर द पीपीटी, 7 एज अप्रोच में आप इस तरह से स्केल अप करते हैं। जस्ट इमेजिन अलाइन किया हमने गवर्नमेंट के साथ। 2 उदाहरण देता हूं मैं आपको। नखो वाला हमने किया, across 72 urban local bodies, the same project is being targeted across the country. ना ईस्ट में जाए पूरा नहीं। गवर्नमेंट के साथ चकाता किया, बिल्कुल दिखाएंगे आपको, चकाता जीरो वेस्ट किया, entire 62 cantonment boards have started using the same approach. Next, solid waste management के प्रति जो मिथ्स है उसको दूर करने के लिए क्या करें। अच्छा, भारत एक ऐसा देश है आपकी वेस्ट का हिंदी परिभाषा हमारे पास नहीं है, एक शब्द हिंदी का नहीं है हमारे पास। सेग्रीगेशन इज द मिसनोमर। सेग्रीगेशन का मतलब मिक्स वेस्ट को अलग करना, कीप द वेस्ट अपार्ट, keep the waste apart का कोई जरूरी शब्द है नहीं, तो हम अभी भी प्रिमिटिव स्टेज में हैं। जहाँ तक सॉलिड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट की बात करते हैं, बदबू देता है कोई सोर्स एजुकेशन नहीं होता, एनारोबिक में जाता है। ये सब जितने मिथ्स हैं, इसको दूर करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट का सहयोग चाहिए, ताकि लोग कहें कि यू डोंट नीड लैंडफिल साइट। अभी भी लोग कहते हैं लैंडफिल साइट, अगर सोर्स एजुकेशन होगा, जीरो वेस्ट गो टू लैंडफिल साइट। शहर विल नॉट लीव। असम गवर्नमेंट ने एक ऑर्डर पास किया, एवरी अर्बन लोकल बॉडी विल हैव लैंडफिल साइट instead of focusing on source segregation. ये 4 लर्निंग के साथ मैं करूंगा, फिल्म में दिखाऊंगा। बिहेवियर चेंज के लिए बहुत से कहते हैं आप आईसी कर दो, नुक्कड़ नाटक कर दो, पैम्पलेट कर दो, पोस्टर कर दो। लेट अस स्टॉप ऑल दिस। नुक्कड़ नाटक, पैम्पलेट, पोस्टर, ड्रामा, वॉल पेंटिंग, होर्डिंग, बैनर्स, ये मास अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करता है। अवेयरनेस इज नॉट दैट व्हाट ब्रिंग अबाउट बिहेवियर चेंज। अभी अयोध्या म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन बोला हर एक महीना एक होर्डिंग लगा। मैं दावे के साथ कहता हूं, जहां पर होर्डिंग लगाएगा उसी के नीचे गुलाबी फेंका जाएगा। We have to enter into an intensive community engagement process. सिर्फ कुछ यहाँ बहुत लोग ODF में काम किए होंगे, हमने हज़ारदारी में उसका काम किया था। How do we trigger people for change? पूरी उसका एक टूल साइकोलॉजी डेवलप है। How do we bring about behavior change? उसको फोकस करें, बिहेवियर चेंज करें। सप्लाई मस्ट मीट एंड प्रोसीड द डिमांड। अभी आगरा म्युनिसिपल कमिश्नर बोलते सिन्हा साहब, बस आप आओ यहाँ पर और सोर्स एजुकेशन करवा दो। हमने बोला ठीक है, मैं करवा दूंगा, 3 महीने के अंदर करवा दूंगा। बोला हाँ, सुना आपके बारे में बहुत, हम 90 डेज में कर देंगे। वो लोग करने के बाद पूरा जाएगा कहाँ? वो तो लाइन से साइड में फेंकेगा। तो यहाँ पे क्यों करवा रहे हो? यहाँ क्यों करवा रहे हो? सप्लाई मस्ट मीट द डिमांड। प्रोसेसिंग जब तक नहीं होगा, ट्रीटमेंट जब तक नहीं होगा, गाड़ी पार्टीशन नहीं होंगे, जब तक वो सप्लाई साइड इन प्लेस नहीं है, मीटिंग डिमांड alone is not going to change. That is the learning. You have to take it for महाराष्ट्र में काम करें, कहीं भी काम करें। First you have to set the condition where are the supplies. ODF देश में मानता था, मैं ट्रिगर करता था, लोग शौचालय बनाते थे। सप्लाई मस्ट मीट द डिमांड। सप्लाई हैज टू बी सीन। सेकंड लर्निंग, थर्ड इज बहुत लोग यूजर चार्ज नहीं देते हैं, लोग सोर्स एजुकेट नहीं करते हैं। झूठ, नागरिकों के कंधे पर झूठ बोलते हैं लोग अलग अलग नहीं करते हैं। नागरिक टेलीफोन बिल क्यों पे करता है, बिजली बिल क्यों पे करता है, बस का फेयर क्यों पे करता है, क्योंकि देखें गारंटीड क्वालिटी सर्विस ऑन टाइम। उसी प्रकार अगर नागरिक को गारंटीड क्वालिटी सर्विस ऑन टाइम दिया जाएगा, फॉर 3 मंथ्स में 60% लोग पे करते हैं। हमें बस नहीं करते कि फ्री में खाने की आदत है, 60% करते हैं। हाईली सब्सिडाइज कंट्री है ना, पूरा मानने की कोई इसकी बात नहीं है, लेकिन हाईली सब्सिडाइज कंट्री। फर्स्ट 3 मंथ्स में 60% चेंज करते हैं। अगले 3 महीने में सेंस सीटर्स चेक करते हैं, 30% सेंस सीटर्स दूसरों को देखकर अपना व्यवहार कर देंगे। 10% तो कुछ भी कम नहीं करेंगे, देश में कितना आजादी तो है हमारे पास, 10% को इम्प्रूव किया जाए। But 90% must come together. If 90% come together, 90% will take care of the 10%. Why do we focus on the 10% all the time? And 10% नहीं करते, इसलिए 90% भी नहीं करेगा, ऐसे लोग कहते हैं। तो ये है कि आपका है अब डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड क्वालिटी मैनेजमेंट। आखिरी पॉइंट है, असल दिखाऊं मैं आपको, जब भी क्वालिटी मैनेजमेंट में काम करें, पूरे शहर को डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड मॉडल पर ले जाए। 5 टन कैपेसिटी का डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड मॉडल होता है, क्योंकि 5 टन से ऊपर जाएंगे देन रिक्वायर पॉलिसी चेंज होता है। आपका पॉलिसी कंट्रोल बोर्ड उसमें मत जाए। 5 टन की कैपेसिटी का 3 4 वॉट लॉन्च करके मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड मॉडल। नेक्स्ट चलिए, तो सब इसमें आगे का प्रोसेस में इस तरह का सैनिटेशन पार्क बनाए, 10,000 15,000 20,000 25,000 स्क्वायर फीट में बन सकता है। नेक्स्ट, ये आपका उत्तराखंड का है। ये पहले लीगेसी में साइट हुआ करता था, सैनिटेशन पार्क, जहाँ पर हमारे सोल्जर्स आते हैं, पीटी परेड होता है, ब्रिगेडियर साहब मीटिंग करते हैं यहाँ पर। जहाँ पर लीगेसी गेस्ट था वहाँ मीटिंग होती है, सेल्फी पॉइंट है वहाँ पर। नेक्स्ट, नखो वाला ऐसा ऐसे नखो वाला साइड 4 घंटे के जर्नी में जाकर देखे आप वहाँ पर वहाँ पे मेयर साहब आप मीटिंग कॉल करते हैं, जो कि 6000 टन कूड़े को प्रोसेस किया है अभी तक, 6000 टन। बहुत से लोग कहते हैं ना, ये शहर घर के बगल में, कॉलोनी के बगल में नहीं बनेगा, कहते हैं लोग, नॉट इन माय बैकयार्ड सिंड्रोम, निम्बी सिंड्रोम कहते हैं, हमारे घर के पीछे नहीं बनाओ, मोहल्ले के बगल में बना, लेकिन चारों पर घर है। ये ऐसे मिथ को तोड़ने के लिए बताया गया वाला साइड। ये आपका धनपुरी है, ये भी गॉडेस के पार्टनर है जीपीएल के साथ। वेस्ट टू वेल्थ वंडर्स पार्क क्या बना है, वहां पर जाए आप देखने के लिए। नेक्स्ट, आबू रोड राजस्थान का है, फर्स्ट ऑफ स्काई आबू रोड, अभी माउंट आबू ने स्टार्ट नहीं किया है, इसलिए भी कवर्स 10 वार्ड्स नगर परिषद जो जीरो वेस्ट हो गया है। जीरो कॉस्ट अभी नहीं हुआ है, बिकॉज़ ऑफ द इलेक्शन अभी के बाद हम जीरो कॉस्ट फोकस करेंगे, इलेक्शन के कारण यू नो द सैनिटेशन चार्ज यूजर चार्ज हैज गॉट अ पर्टिकुलर लैंग्वेज डू इट आल्सो। नेक्स्ट, आगरा म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन 6 वार्ड को 600 टन जाता है 40 किलोमीटर दूर लैंडफिल साइट में, लेकिन 7 वार्ड को रिवर्ट किया गया है वेस्ट। नेक्स्ट, बुधनी नगर परिषद happens to be the constituency of the honorable chief minister। अब बुधनी को देख करके हमारे 40 नगर पंचायत एमपी में they have adopted this model। बुधनी where 40% operating cost is being met, इलेक्शन के कारण अभी आगे का इलेक्शन नहीं हुआ। नेक्स्ट, मालनपुर। नेक्स्ट, पालसबाड़ी जीसीपीएल गॉडेस कंज्यूमर के साथ Why the one of this time project entire northeast? ये है the objective is to enter into the northeast because entire northeast में landfill site है। This process has to be reversed। GCPL was kind enough to support this program और this is being scaled up across। अभी रंगिया में करेंगे, नॉर्थ गुवाहाटी में करेंगे, और जगह गैंगटॉक में जा रहे हैं करने के लिए। Entire this model every day 20-30 people come to see this Palasbari near to Guwahati municipal board। Next, जामनगर नायरा के साथ हम लोग का इंक्यूबेशन सेंटर भी है। अभी परसों हमारे सिक्स मीटिंग है नायरा के साथ, हाउ डू वी स्केल अप दिस अप्रोच इन जामनगर, एंड वी हैव मीटिंग विद द नायरा टीम एंड कमिश्नर। नेक्स्ट, Panji में we have a 20 ton capacity of plastic waste management। कभी पंजी में आप जाएं, take the number, you will see how 20 ton of waste is being processed every day and creating a revenue of roughly 22 lakhs per month। पैसा कमा रहे हैं। Next, झारसुगुड़ा ग्रामीण एरिया में let's go to the film। भुवनेश्वर में भी आप मल्टीपल प्रोजेक्ट्स, जब भी भुवनेश्वर जाए आप 5-6 साइट से जाकर देखें कैसे जीरो वेस्ट हुआ है। फिल्म बस 2-2.5 मिनट का फिल्म है।
Nestled amidst the scenic beauty of the Himalayas lie a charming hilly cantonment town in Uttarakhand, Chakrata. At an elevation of 2,118 meters, Chakrata has quickly become a major tourist destination. With a local population of around 5,000 and a constant footfall of tourists, Chakrata generates, on average, 2.5 tons of waste daily, along with an accumulated 3,580 metric tons of legacy waste. A challenge that needed a solution. That's when Chakrata Cantonment Board decided to act. They aimed for zero waste status in line with the government guidelines. In November 2022, partnering with Godrej Properties Limited through CSR initiatives, CCP joined hands with Feedback Foundation Charitable Trust to implement integrated decentralized solid waste management unit. Welcome to the bioremediation and biomining of landfill site and integrated decentralized solid waste management in Chakrata Cantonment Board, Uttarakhand. Let's take a look at phase 1, biomining and bioremediation. In this phase, the project will process entire 3,580 metric tons of legacy waste and to construct and Material Recovery Facility (MRF) in an innovative concept of sanitation park. The presence of legacy waste can negatively impact the local ecosystem, polluting the environment and human health. Management of such waste requires a structured approach. Step 1. Sampling of waste. Sampling is done to understand the composition and quantity of legacy waste. This information helps in assessing the potential for bioremediation and biomining to help accelerate the biodegradation process. Step 2. Turning of waste in intervals. The turning breaks down the barriers, allowing for better contact with air between the contaminants and the microbial population, further facilitating the process. Step 3. Bioculture spray. A bioculture spray is a technique used to introduce specific microorganisms or microbial cultures to the contaminated site, which further helps in breakdown of legacy waste components. Step 4. Windrows. We create long narrow rows of waste to maximize air and waste interaction. And when methane is released, we spread the windrows to let in sunlight and air. Step 5. Putting waste into trommel or a separator machine. Here we start the mining process by separating waste based on size, shape and density. Waste is loaded into the separator machine through a hopper or a conveyor belt system. The waste enters the rotating drum or a screen where it is subjected to various separation mechanisms by different size screening mesh. Step 6. Management of separated waste components. The recovered materials are sent for recycling either in a waste to energy conversion plant or any other appropriate disposal methods. Step 7. Site restoration. Once the waste management process are complete, site restoration activities are undertaken to restore the land to its original or an improved state. This concludes phase 1 of the project. Now let's take a look at phase 2, waste diversion and management. This phase aims to divert the flow of waste going into the landfills and to scientifically process upcoming 2,180 metric tons of daily waste during the period of next 3 years in a newly constructed MRF facility. After the bioremediation process, the work of construction of the facility started parallelly along the biomining process. The phase 2 management also encompasses intensive community mobilization through various IC initiatives. Feedback Foundation facilitators visit households daily, creating citizen groups and organizing events in pockets and institutions. They are sparking a change in how we view waste, emphasizing the 4R approach: refuse, reduce, reuse, and recycle. During these visits, triggering sessions are organized. Families and stakeholders are introduced to home composting and the importance of segregation of waste and the key points of Solid Waste Management Rules 2016. They learn to keep separated bins for dry, wet, biomedical and hazardous waste, as well as they are informed of user charges and economic benefits of the segregation of waste. The focus is on waste segregation at its source. Rallies were organized, cleaning our streets, sensitizing citizens on a ban on single-use plastic and spreading the message of cleaner, greener Chakrata. This project isn't just about waste, but it aims to bring a positive behavioral change in the community. A typical day begins with door-to-door collection of waste, both from domestic and commercial waste generators. Each type of waste is carefully collected and transported separately to the sanitation park for processing. Dry waste and domestic hazardous waste undergo further sorting in the MRF into different categories. Sorted dry waste finds its way towards revenue generation with the sale of recyclables. Wet waste is processed in pits to convert into organic fertilizer. What remains after processing becomes refuse derived fuel (RDF), a sustainable energy source. We are turning the page on Chakrata's waste legacy, hand in hand with the Cantonment Board, Godrej Properties Limited, and the Feedback Foundation Charitable Trust. From waste to resource, this is our Chakrata's sustainable journey towards a greener Chakrata. Together, yes, we can.
Thank you, Professor, for this very insightful presentation. It is always a pleasure to hear you speak. I now request Mr. Devata Banerjee, Director, Sampurna Earth, to present on how material recovery facilities function and how corporates can get involved in the process.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, IC, for organizing this so well, and have to see so many friends and families, right? So I guess waste management, we have been into this for almost 30 years right now. And many of the faces that we see are friends and families, and this kind of conferences are nothing but a family get together and get an update what other people are doing. So very happy to see you around and hope to build more friends as we go along through the day. I hope I can match up the energy that interesting space to work. Workers came in as a very important stakeholder into this. So we are deeply engaging with informal waste markets and working with almost 1,500 plus individuals in the state of Maharashtra, Goa, and Gujarat with a focus. We also work with brands and producers to do EPR, so we are engaging with them. We also do organic waste with biogas composting, so those are also projects. But I guess we will focus a lot more on the plastics segment today. We are also working with individuals to raise awareness, and right now working with more than almost a million plus citizens, out of which many places we have been able to bring in digitized collection systems as well. Last year we processed more than 60,000 metric tons of waste and diverted from landfills across our facilities. One of the projects in Goa, which I will talk a little bit about as we go through the presentation, was also featured by Niti Aayog last year as one of the example projects for processing plastic waste. So why many people do plastic waste, why this project is so important and so close to our heart, I hope I can bring the essence as I go along. I'll just keep this and brands we work with. I guess this is, my slides are not as good as students' slides, how it looks like, but what I want to present here is waste management cannot be seen in isolation, and we have to work right from the collection, how the waste is, before even collection, the segregation, how the waste is segregated, how the waste is collected by the municipal bodies or the other bodies, where it's heading to, whether it's the informal scrap markets, whether it's the municipal facilities, how those can bring, can all be integrated together, while the recyclable fraction can of course generate revenues. The non-recyclable fraction is also going to cement factories where energy generation is happening. So very simple closed loop systems are available right now, but I think it needs a lot of initial support to start and kick off these projects. But good examples are already created in the country, and hope we can create more such examples as we go along. So just to talk about the plastic scenario in the country, India generates a fascinating 13, almost 14 million tons of plastic every year at this point in time. I don't know whether we can imagine how 14 million tons looks like, but it's going to be 28 million tons. It's going to double in the next 5 to 7 years. So while we say that ban plastics, reduce plastics, it's not really happening. The way our consumption processes are, it's actually increasing. We have banned single-use plastic paper, not in practice. But even if we are able to really ban the single-use plastics, actually single-use plastics only comprises of only 2 to 3% of the total plastic generation. So even if we are able to ban out those 50 micron packets and many other things, we really don't really cut across. We really have to build a very good waste management stable systems to do this. Luckily, India has a very robust informal waste collection system already. In India, it is estimated that almost 5 crore people is actually employed into this. I guess in India, most of the employment is informal in nature, as we know, it's 90%. We said that textile is out of that the biggest employment generator. I guess the waste comes next to it, but it's very unnoticed because it's mostly happening in informal markets without the visibility. But in spite of that, India is already recycling 53% of its plastic waste, which is a huge number. while we see a lot of litter around and we see so much, actually the high value waste, which is the PET bottles or the rigid plastics or many other industrial plastics, actually gets recycled up to 80 to 90%. Some categories even go beyond that. This is an incredible number, and currently if you look at the European countries, they really don't do that. Even with a deposit refund scheme where you go and deposit, get coupons and all those things, no country has yet reached more than 80, 70 to 80% recycling rates, which India is already doing for many of the high value plastics. And it's a huge employment generation point also. So it's very, and if you look at who is recycling this, the data says that 79% is informal right now, while some 20% which is saying it's formal is also actually relies on the supply chain which is totally informal. So you have the waste pickers, waste collectors, informal scrap dealers who build up the supply chain. So just look into the supply chain. I think this is a very important slide for us when we look into business. Is the plastic, how the plastic, who are the people who is handling plastic? We actually can very logically divide into 7 distinct levels how the plastic changes hands before it's the whole circular things happen. Of course, the first level we know the waste generators, which are the households, the bulk waste generators, industries, they come at the first level. Then at the first level comes the waste pickers, the housekeeping staff who during the collection of waste take out. Even the municipal workers, when we see that the waste is being collected, most of the municipal collection trucks also has a bag next to it, जहाँ पे वो अपना डब्बा डुब्बी बॉटल कार्डबोर्ड ये सब लेके रिकवर करते हैं. So apart from that, we also have now small material recovery facilities or municipal facilities which are coming in, so which also act as a supply chain level. But after that, it goes, after the waste picker, it goes to the roadside scrap dealer, local scrap dealer, जो उसके पास जाता है. अभी local scrap dealer तो सब waste खरीदता है, वो paper भी खरीदता है, metal भी खरीदता है, glass भी खरीदता है, सब चीजें खरीदता है. Then that guy sells to an aggregator who works on specific categories. So somebody will only work on flexible plastic, somebody will only work on PET bottles, कोई सिर्फ aluminium can जमा करता है, कोई सिर्फ metal जमा करता है. वो aggregator के बाद भी डायरेक्टली वो रिसाइकलर के पास नहीं जाता है, मैक्सिमम चीजें ट्रेडर भी है. तो बीच में ट्रेडर आता है, फिर जाता है रिसाइकलर के पास जो उसका पेलेट्स, ग्रैन्यूल्स, फाइबर्स ये सारी चीजें बनाता है. फिर वो जाता है प्रोड्यूसर मैन्युफैक्चरर के पास जो उसका प्रोडक्ट बनाता है, फिर वो जाता है ब्रांड के पास. So when we design waste management solutions and see how plastic has to be circular, we need to imagine how all these people, all these 7 levels, at least 7, if I can probably blend them a little further, how all these 7 levels are actually being thought of and integrated in the project. And this is how we have been trying to design our projects as well. One quick point about the informal waste workers. There's lots of policies which have been already been directing about formalizing them. Like the solid waste management rules talks about that, the plastic waste management rules talks about that, Ministry of Urban Affairs of course talks about that, everybody talks about that. But in spite of that, there is huge challenges in this. We mainly categorize them into social, environmental, and financial challenges. But the social challenges is very obvious. You know, we have children waste pickers working over there. We have people working without any insurances, without any health support and all that. The environmental challenges, we know many of them doesn't know कि जो waste usable है उसके बाद बाकी non-usable waste क्या करेगा? They burn the waste locally. Many of them actually have effluents, liquid water gases going into the environment. And even if you look at the financial losses, the government doesn't get any taxes from it. And many of the materials which can actually be recyclable with a little support is always not taken out by the informal market. So वो सिर्फ सबसे high value जो है, सबसे ज़्यादा revenue जो देता है, उसके ऊपर focus करते हैं, बाकी चीज़ों को focus नहीं करते. तो हमारा जो approach है, इनको integrate करके, इनको formalize करके self help groups भी हम लोग बना रहे हैं. हम लोग बहुत जगह पे अभी गोवा में we are working. We have started a program with the Pollution Control Board, which again Godrej is supporting, thanks to Amona. So where we are creating a policy for the state of Goa, which I think will be a very iconic policy because we don't have a state policy. How the scrap dealers in the state can actually be legalized So while we are creating a policy, we are also creating a program to follow that up. How we will handhold them. क्योंकि हम लोग अंग्रेजी में policy लिखेंगे, उनको समझ में नहीं आएगा. Even if they understand, they need to be incubated, guided, how they can follow the environmental regulations, how they can bring the social norms, why this is important, how formalization can help them. So we are right now creating a policy with a handholding program for 800 odd scrap dealers in the state of Goa. This is a very high number, considering Goa has only 11 lakh, 12 lakh people, residents, but lots of industrial base. So this kind of programs we are taking up. Talking about the project in hand, so we have been assigned two cities, Nasik and Nagpur, where we have started the survey already. So there are three different aspects we are looking into the survey. So one is the waste generation, how the house, so where we will be surveying the households, where we will be surveying the bulk waste generators who is generating waste. But after that, as we said, the waste generation, उसके बाद collection कैसे हो रहा है, how optimally the municipalities are planning their routes, where the waste actually goes, what are the fractions in the waste collection is diverted, and then comes to the waste processing. So generation, collection, and processing, all this three, including all the different stakeholders, all so the 7 people levels which I showed. So they are all stakeholders which will be serving in this project, and we will be hopefully coming out with a policy. And while we do this, we have also been planning out the pilot project, how this can happen. So we have created a pilot project which is for 3 years, which will be a demonstration project in the cities, how all the stakeholders can be involved. So we still want to set up a material recovery facility, which addresses the waste, not all categories of waste, but the waste which are actually problem. हम लोगों ने जो देखा 53% रिसाइकल हो रहा है, बाकी जो 47% नहीं हो रहा है, ये मेटेरियल रिकवरी फैसिलिटी वो सारे वेस्ट कैटेगरीज को फोकस करके we will try to bring circularity. Luckily, in both the cities, we already have plastic recycling units that we have set up. Both in Nagpur and near Nasik, Maligaon, which is kind of plastic recycling hub for Maharashtra. We have our own plastic recycling units where we are focusing on low value plastic recycling, the 47% which nobody is recovering at this point of time. And this recycling facilities will also be seamlessly be integrated with the material recovery facility to develop circularity. So we want to set up a material recovery facility. We want to at the same time work with the citizens also to with the 50,000 people population where we at least achieve 80% segregation at source. We are also reaching out to at least 500 odd waste workers and some scrap dealers in the legalization process. And apart from the overall documentation and traceability building, digitizing the whole system. So this is kind of a structure where I think which I explained mostly. So we are so our kind of program. So just a ballpark number. We need support in infrastructure. We need support in awareness and education. We need support in social inclusion, and we need some operational support in the first 3 years till the project is self-sustainable. So one of the projects which we have made self-sustainable is one in Goa, which Niti Aayog basically supported and all as one of the exemplary projects across the country in the plastic waste management, where we have integrated 30 panchayats and multiple municipal councils through an integrated waste management program, where we have digitized the waste collection for 50,000 households, almost 3 lakh our population. So we have placed QR codes at the source. So we have placed QR codes. We are working with the citizens. We are working with the municipalities and the panchayats to see how the waste is collected. And then we also have social inclusion programs where we are right now working in around 280 people, where regular test camps, SHG creation, registration with the government programs, registration with so our government already has lots of programs, insurances and all, which maybe informal workers can actually directly access. So we have been working on those aspects as well. And that's what we have created, and we hope we can replicate with your support in Nagpur and Nasik. These two cities are very important in Maharashtra because At times in Mumbai, I wish Suraj all the luck, but at times, Mumbai seems to be a hopeless city for me because with a 1.5 crore population in such small place, with 10,000 tons of waste being generated, with 4,000 odd crore rupee budget every year, siphoned in different ways, I don't know how the city will develop. And we think Nagpur and Nasik is very quickly headed towards that. We don't lead to the disaster and start disaster management, but we can do things better, much quicker. Thank you.
We will keep the questions for last. We have now Mr. Asha Patel, CEO, India Sanitation Coalition. Please say a few words. Hi, good evening. I'm not going to take too much time. I just want to recap what my colleagues here have been speaking about. This project is actually a first of its kind that we've undertaken. And when I speak of this project, I'm not just talking for, I guess, all of us or the five of us, but I'm really talking about the country as a whole. To be able to undertake a project where we are looking at the end-to-end value chain of plastic circularity is something which is quite unique. Now, each of our three partners here have actually demonstrated this in different cities, different sizes. So I can't really say it's a first from that perspective, but where it is a first is where we are adding phase 2. And this is why it's important for corporates that are wishing to come into this particular project to understand that phase 1, which we call household to MRF, and which was quite nicely portrayed to you by the three partners, is absolutely critical. It's much easier, I won't say very easy, it's much easier to look at phase 2, which is MRF to buyer, because that's where the real value proposition from a commercialization perspective resides. So large plastic consumers will actually be very interested to come into that phase. But if you don't get the plastic in its form to the MRF that can be recycled, then what is the value of the recyclate? That is the big question. And this is what all ULBs are struggling with, and this is what our three partners here are trying to help remediate. So this is why I call it a first of its kind project. For all the corporates in the room here today, please be aware that while we are not focusing only on asking you to come in for the end-to-end, from your perspective, it would be much better if you actually looked at the end-to-end project rather than just pieces of it. So very kindly, my colleagues here have said you can come and invest in individual pieces. Yes, that is possible. But I would say that if you really want to make a difference, come in and look at the end-to-end, which is household all the way back to our. That's really where the real value will come to you as an organization. Thanks so much. Please go ahead. Yes. Can someone pass the mic around?
So I guess these numbers are right now there in the CCP portal. They have to check the latest numbers, but they have divided into 4 categories of plastic. So category 1 and category 2 is recyclable. like rigid plastics. Category 3 is non-recyclable plastic, this is mostly going to end up life. And category 4 is bioplastics. So I guess last year category 3, which is end of life solutions, was around 1 million tons. This is the total number, but category 1 and 2 was around a little less than 2 million. So I guess 3 million tons of plastic has been reported under the CDC portal as per the last year, out of the 14 million tons of generation, but at this point in time. But at the same time, we have to take these numbers with not a pinch, with a bucket of salt, because there has been a lot of forging of data and the has been happening. So this, though it's been put over there, I guess 30-40% of the numbers are actual numbers. 30% has been not good, like not right data still. And recently, if you're following the updates, CCP has also called out many of the recyclers who have been generating state certificates and have actually fined them and all that. This is already 50% of it is identified. So I would say right now what has been reported right is around a million tons out of the 14 million tons of plastic that is generated. So and that is very obvious because most of the places still driven by the informal markets, which are willing to come under traceability. And we really need to work very hard to bring them under traceability, as well as make sure we communicate why they should come under traceability. Actually, the EPR was developed, it was developed as a policy which actually supports many of the informal players to actually set up formal businesses or